Hi, my name is Sama Russel, and you're listening to episode 62 of The Place of Sound. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, and for those of you who have been following along through the past few episodes of the show, welcome back. For those of you who happen to be listening for the first time, The Place of Sound is a show that explores the theme of space or the social geography using sound and listening. We do so through a variety of audio media formats, so you can expect to do a few different types of listening in a single show. Episodes consist of what we refer to as audio portraits, or oral history-style interviews, that explore the topic of home. Soundscape compositions, which use everyday sounds to communicate the personal and social significance of a given place. And we typically end the episode with a short documentary-style piece that explores the place-based identity of the producer. The aim with these particular projects is to allow the producer to think about the places that made them who they are today. In today's episode, we are showcasing a new batch of projects produced in Professor Vincent Andrusani's most recent digital media workshop class. This is a course in the Communication and Media Studies program here at Carleton University. These projects, crafted by the communication students, offer a captivating glimpse into the diverse tapestry of human experiences through the power of audio storytelling. In this episode, we'll be listening to an audio portrait, a soundscape composition, and an audio documentary. 3 projects in total. As you listen, I encourage you to open your ears and listen attentively to the sounds that await. Allow yourself to be transported to new worlds, to walk in the shoes of another, and to immerse yourself fully in the experience that Carleton students have meticulously crafted. All right, on to the projects. First up, we'll be listening to an audio portrait by Jake Andrews titled Men of Nature. In his project, Jake speaks with a colleague of his, Sean, who finds solace and a profound sense of belonging amidst the serenity of a camp he frequently visits with a close friend. Sean reminisces about his most cherished moments and the profound impact this camp has had on his life. Jake, over to you.
Hello out there. My name is Jake Andrews, and I'm a fourth-year student in the Honors Communication and Media Studies program at Carleton University. I have created this audio portrait for the Comms 4501 Digital Media Production course. This audio portrait, entitled Men of Nature, explores my work colleague Sean's love of his hunt camp that he shares with his best friend and explores why this particular place makes him feel at home. The aim of this project is to provide a concise and clear snapshot of Sean's experiences about a place that evokes the feelings of home and take the listener on a journey as Sean tells his story. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy Men of Nature.
Sean Pollock. I'm from a little town that is not too far from Sherbrooke, Quebec, called Bishopton. I have moved around a lot over the course of my life. Ottawa in general does not necessarily feel like home, but it doesn't feel alien either. It's a comfortable place to be. I would say that the part of Ottawa that does feel like home is the hunt camp that I have with a friend of mine. First of all, there's the geographical location. We've hunted that property for about 21 years now. There's been a lot of good times. There's been a lot of fun that has been had. There's a lot of life-changing experiences that are all positive that have happened in that place. A number of people that go to the hunt camp, they feel like family, and to go there makes that feel like home. We were drinking at the hunt camp, and we were having a really good time. At this point we did have a bunkhouse where we slept in, but we also had a modular tent from the Army, and in that modular tent was our kitchen, and it was our dining room, and it was always filled with smoke because we had a brazier filled with wood that was burning. So if you sat, you were out of the smoke, but if you stood up, all of a sudden you were in the smoke. We were having a really good time, and one of my friends, who is fairly heavy set and not all that steady on his feet, got up and immediately tripped on a rock and fell face down into the supporting arm of the barbecue, essentially breaking the barbecue and knocking that tray off and breaking some stuff on the way down. One of my friends looked over at him, who was laying on the ground holding his head, and said, "What did the barbecue say about your mother?" We made a poster about it, about this guy fighting a barbecue. In a sense, the sort of irreverent, dry humor that that I experienced in the Army, and which goes to help make hunt camp feel like home here in Ottawa. There's one fellow who is hands down my best friend, who, when I was in the Army as a lieutenant, he was my troop warrant. He and I worked together very closely over a number of years. We developed a friendship that we still maintain. He and I are the two people that are at the hunt camp. I would say that with that person who is my best friend, that gives me a real sense of home. He also shares my love of the outdoors, so it's kind of like the whole package, him and the outdoors, and it feels very homey to me.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you, Sean, for sharing your story with us. Now on to the second project of this episode. We'll be listening to Grace Nevins' soundscape composition titled Mindful Steps Through Nature. In this piece, Grace takes us to Piney's Point, a place she visits for inner peace and tranquility. Through a symphony of natural sounds, Grace paints a vivid picture of her sanctuary, illustrating how each chirp and rustle fosters a deep sense of mindfulness within her. Grace, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Nevins, and this is my soundscape composition called Mindful Steps Through Nature. Throughout this audio recording, I find myself at a historical site called Piney's Point. It's just in Dunrobin, a little outside of Ottawa, and it's this really beautiful area. It's a historical place where there's a lot of beautiful architecture, some old churches, some old horse stables, and it's a lovely place. During this time of year, there's no tours going on or anything, so I found myself there just going on a nature walk for some peace and quiet, and I noticed how intense the animals were in preparation for the winter time, as well as listening to just the sounds of the leaves and the water splashing as the wind blew colder. So I really hope you enjoy. It's a really beautiful place. Mindfulness, defined as the quality or state of being conscious and aware of something. Today, that something is nature. I would like you to come with me on my journey of focusing on the present moment as I take you to one of my most loved places, a place that brings me calmness, allows me to accept my feelings, and sit in my thoughts. Piney's Point. You may assume that this is a quiet place, a place of silence and relaxation. However, open your mind and listen. I am certainly not alone. the sounds coming from inside the trees. A whole world of life and routine is present around me. A calmly nature to me is a chipmunk, scrambling, nibbling on his treasured find. As we continue on the path, more activity arises. The busy state of the animals preparing for the winter intensifies. The earth has also begun to mimic sounds of preparation, the brisk wind blowing over the flow of the river, causing the water to jump over the rocks. I resonate with the water. The increasingly intense flow reminds me of why I'm here. Breathe, take a moment and feel. As they say, the earth has music for those who listen.
Before we continue on to the last project of the episode, here's a quick public service announcement from the Carleton Communications Society.
Hey everyone!
My name is Laura Kowalski, and I'm the current president for Carleton Communications Society.
And my name is Ethan Ormonde, and I'm the vice president of the Carleton Communications Society. We wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about the Carleton Communications Society for those of you who might not be familiar. The Carleton Communications Society is a group of dedicated students who work endlessly to make the communication and media studies community the best it can be. We organize networking events for communication and media studies students to meet professors, alumni, and peers. We host casual mixers for you to make friends and participate in games and activities, and overall, we attempt to foster a sense of belonging amongst students so you can connect with one another in the communication and media studies program.
Together, we work hard to create a positive and inclusive environment for every student. Whether it's planning exciting school events, providing networking opportunities, or helping you to figure out where a degree in communication and media studies can take you, Carleton Communication Society is here for you. By joining Carleton Communication Society as a general member, you gain access to our monthly newsletters, early access to our activities, discounts at events, as well as the ability to add Carleton Communication Society general membership to your co-curricular record as a CCR credit.
To join the Carleton Communication Society as a general member so you don't miss out on any of the fun activities and events we have going on this year, you can visit our Instagram at CUComSociety. Click the link in our bio to sign up to be a general member to make sure you stay up to date with all things communication and media studies.
Thanks!
And make sure to join CCS.
Now on to the last project, an audio documentary by Jason Scott titled Where Did You Come From? In this project, Jason grapples with the notion of having a seemingly ordinary narrative. He touches on the fact that he's never moved or lived outside of Ottawa and hasn't experienced drastic change. Through conversation with his family members and introspective reflections, Jason delves into the depths of his identity, revealing that every life, no matter how seemingly mundane, has a story to it. Jason, over to you.
Hello, my name is Jason Scott. I am a fourth-year Communication and Media Studies student at Carleton University. Have you ever tensed up when someone asks you a question like, where did you come from? What's the story behind why you chose to live here? Because you felt like there just simply isn't an interesting story to tell? Well, you're not alone. Throughout this audio documentary, Where Did You Come From?, uncovering a story I did not think was worth telling, I do exactly as the title says. Believe me, everyone has something to say about how they got to where they are. This is a story of fate and how a job opportunity, a broken heart, a restored 1969 Camaro, and a Hurley's rooftop led to my existence. Listen and be inspired to uncover your story, as it will help you to discover new parts of your identity. Enjoy. How did you get here? How did you get here? What made you decide to come here? Have you always been here? Where did you come from? How did you get here? Have you always lived here? How did you get here? How did I get here? I mean, I guess I've always just kind of been here. What do you want me to say? I don't have an interesting story. I haven't immigrated from anywhere. I haven't moved from one province to another. I've never even lived outside of Ottawa. Okay, that's it. Don't ask me that question, okay? I don't have a story to tell. I mean, my professor says everyone has a story. Everyone has something to say. But it's probably only me who's interested in it. Nobody cares about my memories, except for me. Okay, well, maybe my grandma, but... My grandma. Okay, take my grandma, for example. She was born in Sudbury, placed in an orphanage when she was 6, then randomly taken out of it by her dad when she was 14 and he moved her to Ottawa. That's a story. She faced real hardships. Me? There's nothing to say. And I mean, I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not upset by it. Honestly, I feel very fortunate that I've lived the life that I have. I've never had to leave my home, my friends, my family. It's just when people ask to hear my story about how I got to Ottawa, that's when I tense up like this, because I feel like there's simply not a story to tell. But if my professor's right, which most of the time professors are, then I guess I can try to piece together how it is that I got here. That is, Ottawa. Let's rewind time. My great-great-great-grandmother originally lived in... Kate, seriously? Okay, this is much better. First, let's hear from my dad and a little bit about why his mother moved from Holland to Regina, Saskatchewan.
Her dad, he died of cancer, I believe, when my mom was pretty young, like I think she was 9 or 10. So my grandmother, her brother, who was a couple years older, and another sister who was a couple years older, thought it was a good opportunity, so they all moved to Regina.
So my dad's mom moves to Regina, which is where she met her husband and had my dad along with his 3 siblings. At 9 years old, my dad moves, and here's why.
My dad was working in Regina with the government, and then an opportunity for a good promotion was available in Ottawa, and he applied, got it obviously, and we all moved to Ottawa. I think it was 1973.
Well, that's part of my story. Had my dad's father never gotten that job opportunity, I wouldn't be in Ottawa today. I'm very happy that this is where my dad ended up. I know it doesn't hold much weight when I say that Ottawa is where I'm meant to be since I've never experienced what it's like to live somewhere else, So, as someone who spent half of their childhood in a different province, I asked my dad if a part of him believes that his life should have been lived out in Regina if only his dad had never gotten that job opportunity.
No, not at all. The first 3 summers of high school, I would go back to Regina, visit my cousins and my grandmother, and then I'd go work on the farm for a couple of weeks. And it was great, but I could never, I was always excited to get back to Ottawa. That was where my, all my friends were and everything. Like, I enjoyed it, doing it for a couple of summers, but no, Ottawa is what I truly call home.
Okay, so now we know how my dad got to Ottawa, but we're still missing the other half of how I got here. As I mentioned previously, my mom's mother moved to Ottawa when she was 14. So similar to me, my mom was born and raised in Ottawa. You may be thinking, well, your dad moved to Ottawa and your mom was here, so there you have it. That's how you got to Ottawa. However, to fully understand my story, we need to know how my parents met.
Well, I was really sad because I just broken up with my boyfriend, and I called these 2 girls who are new friends of mine, and they said, oh, do you want to come downtown with us to cheer me up on Canada Day?
It was Canada Day. I was out with some friends of mine. My one friend, he had finally finished restoring a 1969 Camaro, and he had just gotten it back from the paint shop that week, and so we took it and we drove downtown, and we ended up at the Hurley's in the market on the rooftop.
So we went downtown and we went to a bar, and of course the first bar we go to, my ex-boyfriend is there. So they said, okay, well let's leave and go to the bar across the street. We went across the street and there were some friends there that they knew, and my now husband was one of those people.
I saw Stephanie and started talking, and we just hit it off, and one of her friends, when we were leaving, I didn't have a pen or anything, and she wrote Mom's phone number on my arm in lipstick.
I thought it was fate. Maybe because I was 22, but yeah, I thought it was fate. And I still, 30 years later, think that.
If my friend hadn't gotten his car, there's a good chance I probably wouldn't have even gone downtown. Usually we would just hung out at a barbecue or something, but he really wanted to take his car downtown and drive around because he knew it was going to be crowded and show it off. And if he hadn't gotten it, I don't think we would have maybe ended up downtown.
If it's fate that my parents met, then technically it's fate that I'm here. Before asking my parents these questions and understanding the full circumstances of how they met, I would have just told you, oh yeah, my parents met at a bar, your typical story before the days of Tinder. But now, I see how the stars aligned for them to meet. There's this quote by Mel Robbins that I really like where she says, there is a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being you. You are an amazing you. Like my dad said, had his friend not gotten that Camaro back from the paint shop, or had my mom decided to stay home heartbroken instead of celebrating Canada Day, I probably wouldn't be here. These small details are massive elements in my story, and the lucky chance I was given to be me. Peeling back these layers to my story made me think about my sister. Considering we were brought up the same and have both lived in Ottawa our whole lives, I wanted to know if she felt the same way that I did before I began uncovering how I got here. When I asked her how she responds when someone inquires about her story, this is what she said.
I feel like I almost have to say it's boring, because when I hear from where other people are from, they have way more interesting things to say. When I say I was just born and raised here, not like people would just kind of like, oh, okay. I wouldn't say I'm embarrassed to tell the story. I just feel like no one really cares when I do say it.
I'm hoping that after listening to my parents' story as well as mine, my sister will be inspired to truly think about how it is she got to Ottawa. Not only my sister, but everyone who thinks that they don't have an interesting story to tell about how they got to where they are. Because I promise you, you do. And discovering that story will help you to learn more about yourself and bring you closer to the ones you love. Before uncovering the details of how I got to Ottawa, I thought it was a story not worth telling. However, it has unveiled so much about my identity. Yes, I did not choose to be born and raised in Ottawa, but I have chosen to stay here. I've made this choice because family is important to me, and I want to be close to my family members. Education is important to me, and I wanted to study communication and media studies at Carleton University, so I chose to stay in Ottawa. Now, I have just one question for you. How did you get here?
Thank you, Jake, Grace, and Jason for sharing your projects with us. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Place of Sound. Each project on our show is a testament to the creativity and storytelling of the students in the communications program here at Carleton University. We hope that the stories and sounds you've experienced today have left a lasting impression, sparking curiosity, empathy, and perhaps even a newfound appreciation for the power of audio storytelling. If you're interested in checking out more, have a look at theplaceofsound.ca, where you're not only able to hear more audio media, but in some cases, to see some of the original photos and the writing that students produce to go along with it. There's also a featured work section on the site's blog, where you can access some notable individual projects, and in the classes section, you can have a look at some of the work produced in each of the previous semesters. And lastly, under the Listen link, you're able to access the show's archives and listen back to any episode of the show you'd like to hear. But in the meantime, keep your ear out for upcoming episodes of the show, which air on CKCU Radio every other Monday at 6:30 p.m. and are available wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to The Place of Sound.